Hello, America. Don't really have the energy to stare you down tonight, but I've been working on some stuff, and I want to come right to the chase of it. America, you're going to be really upset if this is what they plan. Then yeah, we've got a really bad problem. Load another speech. Sorry, it's late here. I'm exhausted. It's all come together. I found some video linking Zimbabwe and their national debt. When Romania loaned them $40 million to help them with some infrastructure work, the government took the money and then defaulted on the loan, and Romania forgave their debt, reduced it to $4 million, and then an American entrepreneur, they're called buzzards, bought the note for the $4 million to settle the debt, and is now suing Romania for the original $40 million plus costs. And I know everyone knows what's going on with this, and we don't really understand big finance, but China's already loaned us 20 billion for our war effort, which again I'm going to point out, for oil profits that Americans will never realize. We're just not going to make our money back on this war. So it raises a really good question as far as who's going to forgive our debt, who's going to buy that note. Some of the names that came to mind were, of course, some of the richest people in the world. Queen Elizabeth, she's not the richest, but she's way up there. The Bushes, the Rothschilds, the Gates, the Chinese government. I guess that's where I'm lost. For a fraction of the note, and then what? Illegal armies would be hired to defend their property, Blackwater among them. There are several dozen companies, and they just want to work for their cash, and when their cash is all used up and American money, they won't be paid in American money, they'll probably be paid in euros or yen or rupee. Most of the oil that America is storing now, I feel, is being stored in Russia, which is why it's going up the pipeline instead of down to this Gulf where American ships used to pick up their fraction of oil and then bring it back to the United States for the Food for Oil program to help the Iraqis with medicines and things of the like. Our courts would review the paperwork. They'd find it to be completely legal that the United States did faction out a section of land, and then say, you know what, we did borrow money from this nation, and we did put up this section of land as collateral, and they accepted it. So then the next thing we know, they're what? Protecting it. It's theirs legally. I could see that happening in our courts. If you paid for the property, you were guaranteed the property, it's your property. Okay. At that point, it's up to the owners to eventually evict people. Very well played, almost checkmate. I'd really like for people to hear this. I was blown away by how many others, but we need to have a single word that we can be used for searching. I mean, we all seem to have, I found a lot of people who have freedom of speech, and in a search engine we need to find those people who speak like that, and by doing that we could all find each other a lot more easily. It'd be a lot easier to discover where each other are. I encourage people to make video responses, only because I want to know that other people know that freedom of speech is a freedom. It's the first one. Freedom of speech. But now, it's Zambia is only one example of a country put to turmoil, and we all know they're worth more than 40 million, and why they defaulted, because they knew they'd be forgiven. But what they forgot about was in America, buying notes and other people's debts are what they do. Members of Congress have broken constitutional law by allowing the president this Patriot Act. They need to repeal this. This is one piece of legislation that needs to carry 2/3 of the House, because there are no laws that can suspend the Constitution, and that's exactly what the Patriot Act has done. I'm going to give you an analogy, and my analogy is the Emperor's New Clothes. Members of Congress, you have broken constitutional law only because you saw when the president said, "We're the Emperor's new clothes." He stands naked before you, stating what a beautiful country we have, and wanting to sell its shiniest treasures. Now for us Americans. America, you have forgotten there are no elders left. No John Paul Richards, no Benjamin Franklins, no Thomas Jeffersons, certainly no Clintons, no Nixons, no seniors, no elders that walked around in our workplaces and reminded us of what a great country we had at one point. The men who fought and died in the Revolutionary War and pushed government off our doorstep, English government rule, things like the tea tax, and the stamp tax, things that we considered to be outrageous. No town criers to keep you up to the minute on what's going on in the world. No guy in the news dare remind you. Are they being held at gunpoint? Is there someone on the backside of there holding a gun at them, and if they screw up they're going to get shot in commercial break, and suddenly they'll be back with a new anchor? That's a scary thought. America is freedom of speech and the ability to live free, to think free, no matter your walk of life. That someone exists to take that away from you. Prepare your children. Their boot camp is now. Best train them to cope. A lot of people could be displaced. A disaster is lurking. We need to tune in. Amendment 5 brings about some serious issues in all of this, because here's the plan. When they loan the money to the USA, the World Bank is shown on a map. And I'm going to use another analogy of The Patriot starring Mel Gibson, but this isn't a scene with Mel Gibson in it. Have you ever seen the movie that The Patriot, when the general talks about what land he'll receive upon victory in the United States, the land he was promised by King George in the event of his victory, and had a nice big chunk of the Louisiana territory there for his family and all of his generations to come? That's sort of what they've done here. And they've laid out a map, and they've divided up our country, and they've sort of shown us what we're going to, or shown each other what they've been willing to put at stake for money to fund the armies. And these private armies are going to be hired by other nations to run in and grab our country up and protect it from us and say, well, you know what, according to the Supreme Court it's all legal and you just need to get over it. But the president will be able to say that, hey, I made myself a real estate commission, 7%, and all the Ozark belongs to the World Bank. They'll kick your butt off, and they don't care, and begin colonizing with a whole other nation of people. It could be anyone. Whoever buys the note and owns the property, that's it. It could be absolutely anyone. If you leave some music behind, they might keep the culture alive in the Ozarks, but I don't mean to point out the Ozarks. It could be LA beachfront property. It could be Texas oil land. It could be Alaskan oil land, and I'm willing to bet that's what they're going to slice up first and divide up by their own stake. And according to Amendment 5, unreasonable, your absolute rights, unreasonable search and seizure, confiscation of property, due process. Well, when they own all the cards, there is no due process, America, because your dirt you live on will be taken away. But it could be anywhere, anytime, any of us. And then when we're declared to be indigent, guess what? They're just going to boot us off the land, and then we'll be refugees in our own country.